Hello everyone. As has been the case every Saturday for a while, we take another dive into the mysterious world of the Forgotten Languages website, exploring its ties with UFOs. Today we are going to dive into what disclosure of non-human intelligence could or does mean, and how and why are the aliens communicating with us the way they do. On the 3rd of July 2016, the website posted an article titled Chasing Lights. The title itself suggests what people may, and perhaps especially pilots, have experienced. So, mysterious lights in the skies, effectively UFOs, and our attempts at trying to chase, identify, and examine them. Let's see what the English parts of the text say here.
When the information is disclosed to the president, the organization, as a legal entity, is held accountable to denied for the control and protection of the information. Said information is only approved for disclosure to the president, that individual being held accountable for control and protection. The approval of the disclosure to the president does not constitute approval to disclose the information to any other individual.
Well, it took off into a different direction. We have considerations of disclosure and secrecy and classification of information. Especially people who frequent the UFO circles may know that, in all actuality, the decision to disclose the presence of non-human intelligence on the Earth does not really lie with the President of the United States. Frankly, if the President did just that, it is legally possible to push high treason charges against the President, as UFOs and related topics are classified outside of normal secrets and are in fact covered by the Atomic Energy Act, which provides for extreme punishment, including lifetime imprisonment and the ultimate penalty for disclosing such information. We also have a reference to what seems to be the ARPA and later DARPA report from 1972, hinting at a possible attack by non-humans at some point.
Only denied may authorize or deny the foreign disclosure of critical information to the president or any other organization. The disclosure decision shall be made within the scope of the delegated disclosure authority.
Once again, it is an open secret at this point that the intelligence community, the highest echelons of gatekeepers of the UFO secrets, so most likely certain people from the Air Force, the Navy, and the ODNI, treat the President of the United States as a temporary employee and claim often enough that the President does not have the need to know. According to the words of President Clinton, he himself has hit the wall when he inquired about the UFO secrets back in the day. We next see an analysis of a purported Gizelian object or entity, so an extraterrestrial being. And here is the transcript of what the images embedded in the article say.
In the experiments, the entity was fastened to a chair in a sitting position inside a drum-shaped cage, which served as a resonating cavity to greatly strengthen the electromagnetic energy within the cage. A radio antenna fitted to the top of the cage pointed toward the entity's head, in line with his brain stem, the central vital portion of the brain. The antenna was excited by an N/GRC 27 ultra-high frequency transmitter, which operates in the 225 to 400 MC range and has a peak output of about 100 watts. When the transmitted was turned on, the entity was apparently unaffected for a few seconds, then it became drowsy. After a minute or so, the entity became agitated, moving its head from side to side. In another minute, there appeared unmistakable signs of some impending disturbance in the vital centers of the brain. Finally, the subject was thrown into a major convulsion a few seconds before death occurred.
It is quite a clinical description of could be, at least in theory, experimentation on a non-human entity. Not necessarily one from Gizel in Iran. We have already heard that Gizelians may have been involved in other UFO events, including crashes and live occupants found at the scene. Rumors about experiments carried out on aliens are also not necessarily new in ufology either, and such experiments could actually be the reason behind the fact that we have got no disclosure so far. If the society got to know that we have possibly antagonized a technologically superior species by harming their representatives, I am pretty sure this would not sit well with many people.
Examination of the brains of two entities which died in the experiments revealed no pathological cause of death. Another two entities, whose exposure was cut short of death, showed symptoms which resembled those of Parkinson's disease in human beings. Most survivors recovered completely. With continued exposure, the entity would develop sagging under upper eyelids of both eyes. Suddenly, he would open his eyes and stare upward. The pupils were usually small and equal. Then, the eyes would begin to move independently, and the pupils would dilate. Often one pupil would be larger than the other, and in some instances lose its roundness. The pupils would then dilate and constrict irregularly and rapidly. Rapid, involuntary oscillation of the eyeballs would then occur, accompanied by rapid blinking. The involuntary oscillation of the eyeballs often persisted for several minutes after cessation of radiation.
So, this heavy read would hint at a major reason as to why disclosure has not happened, and why some elements of the people involved may want human immunity before disclosure. And this was just an example. We know stories of humans opening fire at alien vehicles or beings, usually without any particular prompt or aggressive behavior from the other side. Then we hop over to the 18th of September 2016, when an article with an interesting title on dreams and beliefs was published. It outlines a communication strategy instigated by aliens in contact with humans, so let's see how they do it according to the Forgotten Languages website.
We wish to know whether there are deeper differences in the kinds of dreams humans have, or whether the differences we have noticed are the result in differences on how humans dream. If we wish to use dreams as an effective pre-contact strategy, what will happen the night they all have one and the same dream? Wouldn't that cause fear and panic in them?
Those are all valid points, assuming this is an alien perspective. Dreams are a fickle medium, with often nothing making much sense when we reminisce on them in the waking state. Even if during the dream logic seems to be perfectly intact, we then realize how strange the experience actually was. Moreover, we have relatively poor dream recall for the most part, and tend to forget those fleeting experiences with relative ease. There are certain medications and techniques which can improve dream recall, but even those have their limitations. Thus, we have the first major obstacle at the road to communication with the aliens through dreams.
If dreams in humans serve the function of sorting through the experiences of a day, allowing those experiences to be integrated with past experiences stored in their brains, how are we to shape the message about an experience they will only go through in the future?
This short section made me think of experiencers. Not only most of the alien-related experiences occur during the night, but most of them seem to be associated with either sleep paralysis-like states or have a very dreamlike quality to them. Could it be that this state is purposefully generated in human brains by the others to engineer certain experiences? The next English paragraph indicates that this could be the case.
Dreams always reflect the dreamer's feelings about events and their relationships. Inducing a vivid specific dream in humans before the real contact will certainly minimize the logical fear and anxiety. However, it is perplexing for us they only recall the dreams they had after a sighting, and never the one they had before the sighting took place. This is clearly a problem we need to solve. Contact with Earth's civilization is bound to be asymmetrical. Want it or not, this will be psychologically devastating for them.
The last part seems to be a bit chilling of a statement, but also not necessarily so. It is quite frankly logical. We often seem to portray the moment of contact in a fairly positive light, just to recall the last part of the Close Encounters of the Third Kind movie by Steven Spielberg. But in fact, there would be serious, perhaps even insurmountable problems involved. From alien biology being possibly drastically different to ours, so need for different atmosphere, different pathogens, and so on. Moreover, we can only speculate how alien beings actually think and whether they use any communication systems which could allow interfacing with us. We assume they do, just as we usually assume them to be technologically superior, but there is no guarantee of any success here, quite frankly. What do you make of today's topics, dear viewers? Do you think we have potentially done horrible things to survivors of UFO crashes in the past? And could it be the very reason behind the lack of disclosure so far? And analogically, do you think we may be contacted by the aliens in some unusual ways, which we usually do not consider to be modes of contact at all? Let me know in the comment section down below. We are moving fairly quickly through the year 2016 and the frequency of UFO-related articles, just as their topics enter an ever more increasing subtlety and complexity. Last but not least, they are increasingly connected to the lore present in ufology, so they may be possibly rooted in our actual reality. Stay tuned because our series is still just starting while we wait for interesting news from the UFO world. Thank you for watching. I would appreciate a lot if you could like and subscribe to the channel, as this helps immensely, and I will be back with you in another video soon indeed. Take care.